To the lead, there are some very real, very painful consequences of a government shutdown, but there's also a lot of closures that feel, well, perhaps a little gratuitous, like fencing off the Lincoln Memorial or chaining off children's playgrounds in Washington, D.C., a closure that young Ingrid here responded to with some good old-fashioned civil disobedience. What about Joyce Spencer of Nevada? She was told by a park ranger that she and her 80-year-old husband were now barred from entering their Lake Mead cabin because it sits on federal land.
But somebody told them to have to move out of their place.
Also today, the Amber Alert website that helps find abducted children finally came back online after going dark, ostensibly due to the shutdown. We should point out the program itself was never affected. That's done on the state and local level, but the federal government had a website that provided information that has now been reinstated. So is this all just about optics? What's going on here? Let's bring in our panel. CNN political contributor Paul Begala, CNN chief congressional correspondent Dana Bash, and senior editor for National Review Ramesh Ponnuru. Paul, I want to start with you. There is starting to be out there a certain meme among conservatives that some of this stuff is just being done to send a message what a government shutdown looks like, as opposed to an actual government shutdown requiring barricades to be put up, for example.
But, well, it looks like a government shutdown because it is one. They're following the law. It's an uncommonly stupid law, but we're in this uncommonly stupid spot because Congress won't fund. And some of these are optically problematic. You're right, like locking children out of parks, which is crazy. The stuff we don't see is much more frightening. When the National Intelligence Director tells us that he is very worried that 70% of the intelligence personnel are not working, we don't see that. These are people protecting us. Hundreds of food inspections, and on and on and on. It's the stuff we don't see that worries me a lot more.
Ramesh, there are a lot of conservatives, as you know, who think that the White House is, that they paint this picture of President Obama sitting behind his desk and close down that park and take down Amber Alert.
Well, maybe not the president personally, but some of these closures clearly take more resources than keeping them open would. And when that happens, and when you have this sort of arbitrary pattern where Michelle Obama's Let's Move website stays up, even when the Amber Alert website goes down, you do have to wonder whether political games are being played.
Political games in Washington? Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to fall off my chair.
Dan, I want to get you to your response to what Speaker Boehner said today, or in response to Gene Sperling. We played it earlier, but here is what Speaker Boehner said.
This morning, a senior White House official said that the president would rather default than to sit down and negotiate.
Fact check.
There was no exact quote that Speaker Boehner just used. The president's advisors, Gene Sperling and Jason Furman, were at an event this morning where they talked about the fact, just like the president has said, he's not going to negotiate. But they didn't say point blank, sure, let's default rather than negotiate. But you know, the speaker has taken what he heard and used it to his political benefit, which is not unlike what we're seeing from the president today. I mean, it is really remarkable, Jake. We are 7 days in from the shutdown, 10 days out from America defaulting. And these two guys are just talking at each other through us. It is absolutely remarkable. I was saying in the green room that I'm so lucky now that I have a 2-year-old because I now understand better how to cover Congress.
It's true. Ramesh, I have to say, assuming you're a Republican, I know you're conservative, I assume you're a Republican, your party's taking quite a beating in the polls. I mean, they don't seem to like anybody right now. But they really don't like Republicans. Is this a bad strategy politically?
I have never thought this strategy made any sense. Congressional Republicans, a lot of them seem to think this isn't hurting too much. Some of them even think things are going their way. I don't think either side is feeling enough pain that this is going to be brought to an end anytime in the next couple days.
Is that because their districts are so gerrymandered that it's all these conservatives in their district and they don't have a sense of where the mass public is? In other words, this is a good strategy to keep the House, but not to win a presidential election?
I think there are two things. One, it's not just gerrymandering, it's just that the segregation of people by politics in this country, even if you drew the lines fairly, Republicans live with other Republicans and so on. And the other thing is, a lot of the country at large, the shutdown is not affecting their day-to-day lives.
Right, but
I mean, maybe there are things behind the scenes, but that's the problem.
But the pain here, both politically and more importantly substantively, I believe is geometric in its expansion, not arithmetic. In other words, every day that goes by, someone in a conservative district is not going to be able to get the FHA loan, even though they saved for years to buy their first home, or an agriculture department loan to help with harvesting the crops, or sign up for Social Security. New enrollees are not being allowed in. This stuff will explode like this. Now, the problem is, once we hit October 17th, if, God forbid, we go through that debt ceiling, it's not even geometric, it's exponential.
Paul,
the damage.
how tenable is it for President Obama to continue to say he's not going to negotiate when it comes to either the shutdown or the debt ceiling, especially now that they seem to be morphing into one thing?
He can't, unless he wants to be John Boehner, president in name but not in authority. They have negotiated. It's simply true they have. We know this now. Harry Reid told Dana that in September he sat down with Congressman Boehner, the Speaker, and
On funding, not on
right,
the debt ceiling.
not on the debt ceiling.
Right.
But that's because the president said that from the start. It's not a negotiable thing.
But Dan,
we have to pay our bills.
And this is going to have to, we only have about 30 seconds left. This is going to have to be, at this point, one big thing where you raise the debt ceiling and fund the government, and maybe, you don't think so?
I think you could continue the shutdown
Exactly.
even after you've
Just gonna
raised the
say
debt
that.
ceiling.
It's entirely possible at this point. Nothing would be, we're in such extraordinary times, nothing would be
Cats and
extraordinary.
dogs living together. All right, Dana Bash from Esplanade, Paul Begala. Thank you so